Hello, I'm Brett Ninneman, and this is my TED Talk about diversity in sports leadership. So, starting with college sports leadership, according to ESPN, only 23.1% of high-ranking leadership positions in the FBS college sports were held by a person of color. This gave them a score of C for racial hiring practices. Also, 70% of conference commissioners are white men, and at the start of the season, 83.2% of college head coaches were white. So, moving on to professional sports leadership, in 2020, the NFL only had 13% of their head coaching positions held by people of color. The NBA only had 30% of their head coaching positions held by people of color, and the MLB only had 20% of their head coaching positions held by people of color. And then, as you can see in the graphic below, there is a major change in the amount of players of color and the head coaches of color. So the head coaching staff is much less diverse than the team is itself in most cases. So, and then moving on to professional sports leadership in the NFL, as you can see, starting with the players, there are many players in the NFL that are diverse, mostly African American. But as you move up through the ranks from assistant coaching to head coaches to general managers and CEOs, you have a significant drop in people of color to almost nothing when you reach the level of CEO, which needs to be changed. And then leadership in the MLB. So starting with the players again, there is a good amount of African American and Latino players in the MLB. But as you move down the ranks, or move up the ranks, coaches, managers, general managers, and majority owners, the higher level you get, the more white people there are in charge of those leadership positions, especially in the majority owner section, general managers and managers positions. Then moving on to leadership in the NBA, as you can see, there's a great majority of the players that are African American, as well as assistant coaches and even head coaches in this example. But then moving down to general managers and majority owners, there is still a great majority of white people in those positions and not a lot of racial diversity. Then moving on to the WNBA, which usually has some of the highest scores for racial diversity and gender diversity, we can see that a good majority of the players in the WNBA are African American. And that's the same with assistant coaches. There's a good amount of assistant coaches that are African American. But then, as we saw with the other professional sports teams, once you get down to head coaches, general managers, and majority owners, those positions are more held by white people. But even then, the WNBA does the best job out of anybody with racial diversity hiring, as you can see in this chart. So, racial hiring practices in professional sports, as we could see in the past two infographics, the NBA and the WNBA have some of the highest scores for racial hiring in leadership positions. Both the NBA and the WNBA received a grade of A+ for racial hiring practices. The NBA also received a grade of A for gender hiring practices, and the NBA received a grade of B+ for gender hiring practices. As you can see in this gender breakdown of WNBA head coaches, there is a pretty even split for male and female head coaches in the past 20 years. So how can diversity in sports leadership be improved? Organizations can run programs to support people of color into applying for leadership positions. Sports organizations could also run programs to support women into applying for leadership positions. They could also run advertisements for leadership positions specifically for women or people of color in the workplace that have been underrepresented in the past. And then the benefits of having a diverse team can include having a diverse coaching staff will bring new ideas from people with lots of different backgrounds. And then having a more diverse staff will also make everybody feel more included and accepted. And then also having a more diverse training staff could help lead to improved training methods with people coming from lots of different backgrounds and bringing different ideas to the team. And then these are some of the sources I used for the information in these slides. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.